So if you're going to be pulling for Kafka, there are a few things you must know. The final version of her kit is going to be significantly different compared to her closed beta version. The most important one being the rework of her talent, which instead of increasing the target's DOT damage taken for 2 turns, which could have been a really good combo with Sampo's ultimate, now it only applies shock on the enemy, and they moved the increased DOT taken debuff to her Eidolon 1. So let's have a quick look at her kit. We'll only talk about the updated version of her kit, which was posted on Reddit, but I'll also put the old version on the right so you get a better idea on how much nerfs she received. Keep in mind, all these abilities are at level 10. So her skill deals lightning damage equal to 160% of her attack to a target enemy, and 60% of her attack to the adjacent enemies. And also, if the target enemy has any DOT debuff on them, it will instantly proc those debuffs and deal damage equal to 75% of the original DOT damage. So if you use Bronya with her, which I'm not sure how good the synergy they're gonna be, because as far as I know, the DOT damages aren't affected by crits. But with Bronya, you could proc the DOTs twice, or 2 extra times in each turn. Most likely gonna be a terrible idea, as you will end up consuming all 6 skill points, and your other units will only have to resort to basic attack, which brings us to her talent. So after an ally of Kafka uses basic attack, Kafka immediately launches a follow-up attack that deals 140% of her attack as lightning damage to the target, with a 100% base chance to inflict shock, which is equivalent to that applied by her ultimate to the target enemy for 2 turns, and can only affect 1 enemy in each turn. Before, it used to increase the DOT damage taken by the target enemy by 22.5% for 2 turns, which means now you are pretty much going to have to rely on Sampo's ultimate if you want to get more DOT damage. And it also kills the Serval synergy, as her talent does the same thing as her ultimate, except her ultimate is an AoE ability and her skill isn't. So putting Serval with Kafka to extend the shock duration becomes kinda useless, especially for in single target scenario. Her ultimate is an AoE ability that deals 80% of her attack as lightning damage to all enemies, with a 100% base chance for enemies hit to become shocked that lasts for 2 turns, and also immediately take damage equal to 100% of the DOT, which is 290% of Kafka's attack. So theoretically, something you could do to get the most amount of damage out of her kit is use her ultimate. You can use Sampo's ultimate before that if you want, or if you're using him with her, then use Kafka's skill, then Bronya's skill, then Kafka's skill again. That combo alone will do 725%, I think, of her attack as DOT in 1 turn without Sampo's ultimate. Yes, she is an annihilative path unit, but her current kit pretty much forces you to play her as a DPS. And considering crits don't affect DOT damage, I'm not sure how good she is gonna be as a main DPS in the team, as her non-DOT damage multipliers are mediocre at best. As you're going to be stacking as much attack as possible on your Kafka because DOT damage isn't affected by crit rate or crit damage, Tingyun can be a fantastic unit to run with her. Her Benediction will increase Kafka's non-DOT based damage dealt to the enemy, and when you land a basic attack with Tingyun to proc Kafka's talent, Kafka will do both a follow-up attack and an additional attack because of this talent. And Soothing Melody will help her with casting ultimate more often, especially if your Tingyun is at E6. The Torture bonus ability gives her ultimate the same passive as her skill, but instead of only 75% of the DOT, it immediately deals the full amount of damage. Thorns now increases the base chance of applying shock to the enemies by 30%. Now on to her Eidolons. The E1 is now what her skill used to be, which increases the DOT damage taken by the enemy's hit by Kafka's follow-up attack by 30%. E2 increases all DOT damage dealt. E4 is extremely good for energy regen, especially after casting her ultimate, which inflicts lightning DOT on all enemies. So the more number of enemies in the battlefield, the more energy you will receive. And E6 to increase the damage multiplier on lightning DOT. Now, one thing that's really confusing is I have no idea if she is going to be good at Serval. Sure, Serval's ultimate will be nice to increase the shock duration inflicted by Kafka, especially given both their ultimates are AoE, so you can inflict shock on enemies for for 4 turns, which should be enough for both of them to regain their maximum energy back. But when it comes to her skill, it also applies shock on enemies. So if you use it after Kafka's shock infliction, it will just remove Kafka's lightning DOT, which has a much higher damage multiplier than Serval's shock DOT debuff. Maybe Serval with bonus energy regen might end up being a thing, but you will need to unlock Kafka's E1 to get the extra DOT damage. So for now, the best viable team for her looks like to be Kafka, Tingyun, Sampo or Bronya, and then Natasha or Bailu, with Quid Pro Quo as the energy regen seems like to be really important. Now, even with all the changes, she's looking extremely good. Sure, now you will have to unlock her E1 to use her as a support, but at the same time, not needing to put Serval with her means you get to use units like Tingyun or Bronya. Now her Lightcon got a pretty huge nerf as well, as it no longer increases the DOT damage taken by the target enemy, and instead they receive lightning DOT based on a percentage of Kafka's attack at the start of each turn. So whether you should pull for Kafka or not, it depends on how much you like DOT focused team. I'm personally not a big fan of DOT, but if you are into that playstyle, she is no doubt the best one you can have, but her LC looks extremely disappointing, and I will definitely not suggest you to pull for that as a free-to-play. Now, there are still a lot of time left before that unit officially comes out, so they might make some significant changes and make the Lightcon maybe a little bit better, or maybe rework on her abilities to make her slightly better than what she currently is. But like I said, even with all the so-called nerfs, she's still looking like a really good character, especially if you are into that DOT playstyle. So a lot of the stuffs I said in the video are just speculation, and when we actually get to play her, the result might not be what people are guessing about. I'll try to make a video if I manage to pull her. So if you are interested, you can subscribe and leave a like if you enjoyed the content, and I'll see you all in the next video. Take care everyone, and I'm out. Bye.